Hello and welcome. I'm Chris Braitch, and this is the Seen and Heard podcast, a conversational series. I am an emotional health and leadership coach and co-founder of the not-for-profit Seen and Heard, which supports those seeking healing, connection, and systemic change. My vision is to move myself and the world around me towards connection and compassion. And each week, I will connect with amazing guests who are on their journey to bring about meaningful change in their own lives and the world around them. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to the Seen and Heard podcast, a conversational series. I'm delighted today to be joined by Debbie Beauchamp and Hugh Newton. Hugh Newton offers the Sovereign's Journey retreats. He has written a book by the same name to support men in their wholeness and joy. He's a co-leader in the Mankind Project UK and Ireland and the male lead supporting Celebration of Being. Debbie Beauchamp is an accredited counsellor with BACP and Family Constellations facilitator with over 15 years experience. She leads and facilitates Celebration of Being in the UK and Switzerland. These workshops offer leading-edge contemporary rites of passage initiations for women and men. She has specialised in working with trauma in a body-informed way as well. They bring their unique range of expertise in the field of personal evolution, including the Coming Home Retreat, which ran in 2024 and again in 2025. And this retreat is for people who've attended boarding school and wish to bring understanding and healing to their experience during that time. The retreat will provide an opportunity to explore, transform and heal negative experiences resulting from this time. And it's going to be running again, we're glad to say, in 2026. So this retreat is supported by Seen and Heard because of the profound impact it has had on attendees so far. Welcome, Hugh and Debbie.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, it's lovely to connect today. We've been in each other's worlds in one way or another for a few years now.
Yeah.
You facilitated at my Mankind Project New Warrior Training Adventure weekend 3 or 4 years ago, which was really transformational for me. And then we, when I attended the first Coming Home retreat, the one that was filmed for Boarding on Insanity, Piers Cross's film, got to spend some more time with you both then. It's cool.
That's it.
I'm really, really grateful to have this conversation today. And at the start, I always like to, go back to the beginning, kind of find where the origin stories, where people came from and what brought them to the work they do now. So let's start with you, Hugh. Can you just tell me a little bit about that period of your life and the journey out to the work you're now doing?
Thank you, Chris. I grew up in Zimbabwe before it was Zimbabwe, when it was Rhodesia, and we lived pretty far out in the wilds. And I had a wonderful childhood, a good family, lots of adventures, and a very strong link and love of wild African life and all the creatures that inhabit it. What caused me difficulties was at the age of 9, the Rhodesian Civil War arrived on our doorstep, and my father fortified our home and taught myself and my brother how to shoot so that we could defend our family. And we lived in that environment for a number of years during the war. And actually, probably about 3 years in was the first time I went to boarding school, because things got so dangerous around us that my parents thought it would be safer, at least in the term time, if we were in boarding school in the capital as it was at that time. So I headed off to boarding school for a couple of years at the end of my primary school. At the age of 15, my father decided that because he and my mum grew up in England just before the war and left just after, so he was able to come to the UK to live, and my father decided it was time for us to leave Africa, even though I'd never left there before. And we came to Wales and went to school in Wales from the age of 15. And then my dad actually left to have a contract in Malawi for a few years. So I went back into boarding school during sixth form and had a couple of years in boarding school. It was very interesting going in sixth form. I liked actually a bit of freedom, but in the first term I was what was called given hell. And no one would associate with me for my first term. All the lads I joined had been there since the age of 6 or 7. and they put me through an extremely thorough testing period for the first 3 months of being there. It was tough, really tough. I had to fight off bullies and people like that, and make a stand for myself. And then magically, when I came back in the second term, it had been decided somehow that I was okay. And from then on, I really enjoyed the last couple of years in boarding school. And then after that, came home and headed for London to go to college, to university. That was my basic start to life.
Thank you, Hugh. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I've got an image of you at the home in Rhodesia, it's sort of, with a rifle at the window, being prepared to kind of defend the home. How was that for you as an experience, moving from sort of idyllic childhood to siege mentality?
Yeah, it was two things. One, it was very frightening and difficult to cope with, and the other side of it, I was a very adventurous boy, and so the idea of having my own gun and being armed and needing to fight to protect my family, it meant a lot to me, and I very thoroughly entered into it. But actually, some of the darkness of the war came very strongly inside me, because as a young boy, I didn't have the capacity to want to be able to kill people. So it felt like a lot of the darkness of the war entered into me, so I could be able to do what was necessary at an extremely young age. And really, when I came to the UK, I had huge PTSD, with no knowledge that that's what it was, just a large array of symptoms which took some handling. And actually, I just hid everything I could once I got to England, hid my past, hid my trauma, and tried to survive as best I could.
Thank you. Yeah, sounds familiar for the work that we do. That sort of survival personality, put everything away and be what's required of you in the surroundings. But very understandable, for young people to take that line. Yeah, and the darkness of the war, child soldiers in Africa, the history is long, isn't it? Whatever side of whichever conflict, young people are often expected to fight all over the world, but obviously in Africa is a legacy of that. So thank you for sharing. The first boarding school then in Africa, what was that like, and how did it compare to the latter one in UK?
Well, it was primary school, so it wasn't as rough. We lived in a hard, quite rough society, in all honesty, quite patriarchal, feelings very profoundly discouraged, definitely feelings of anger or fears. Feelings of fear and sadness. It was okay to be angry, but nothing else. Again, it was lonely. It was odd. My parents were only an hour and a quarter away, but the rules of boarding meant we only had an exit or whatever it was called twice a term, so we could see them twice in 3 months. And looking back on it, it's hard to understand, but it was the old system in those days, much harder. And both there and once I moved to secondary school, children were ruled by the stick, and we were caned for all and any minor problematic behavior, anything really. Cane for failing to get above a certain task in tests. So yeah, it was a tough environment, and it was social suicide to ever cry if we were beaten. So I very strongly clamped down on my feelings and made sure no pain or difficulty ever showed.
Thank you. Connecting to that little boy. Did you have siblings that also went, or was it just?
Yeah, my brother was there as well, and then my sister was much younger, so she didn't go to boarding school.
How did your brother find it?
Much the same as me. Yeah, in that sort of environment, a boy had to fight to protect himself, and I didn't realize I was wiping out my emotions and making myself numb, which is effectively what I did, which has taken a lifetime to recover from and try and get my feeling back. particularly sadness, which has been very slow coming and very difficult to allow myself to feel. But yeah, I can feel it now. Maybe even now, not to the degree if all of that hadn't happened. It's not free flowing for me, but I can feel sadness in the right times.
Mm, yeah, I really hear that. I think over the last 5 years, I've often tried to find opportunities to make myself sad, whether
Mm.
it's music or film or something that unlocks it within me so that I can actually sort of reduce that reservoir of tears down.
Yeah,
Because it isn't always there for me.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, yeah, and Debbie, I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey, so your sort of early years formative experiences.
Well, mine's very, very much tamer than Hugh's. um, the way, I mean, I don't remember much about my childhood, just to be really honest, and I think that's because I've locked a lot of it away. And even through my like 20 plus years of my own therapy and working in this space, my body remembers, but my mind doesn't necessarily remember everything. But what I see as the pivotal changes for me were I was brought up East End, London. And when I was 7, my parents divorced. My recollection, although it's like it wasn't explained, we weren't talked to. So literally overnight, my world changed. Moved house, moved location, moved school, moved friends, moved I was very active. I used to go dancing, gymnastics, all of these extracurricular things. And all of a sudden, all of that disappeared along with my dad. And I think I have to confess, I was a bit of a daddy's girl. So at 7, my life literally changed overnight. And this for me is one way that I really feel like I relate to people who've gone to boarding school. It's literally like your life changes. And I lost all of the things that created safety for me. And so from 7, then the recollections I have is like I wet my bed up until I was really like, I don't know, young teenager. And I remember my mum racking like herself trying to like, what can we do? How can we stop this? And so there was this, I mean, what I see I did, or my little girl did, was blame myself for what happened to me and my family circumstances. I had 2 younger brothers. So all of a sudden I became the sort of responsible adult, and my mum very much needed to work basically to allow us to survive. So I think we went from, my assumption is like an affluent, okay family life to one of poverty. And it was literally, my mum literally worked 2, 3, 4 jobs, as many jobs as she needed, which meant that home life for us was quite chaotic. We might be with a childminder here or somebody picking us up from school. I mean, I have very few memories. I know there's a wilder side to it where I was let out on my bike, and, in those days where we used to be able to go out and feel safe. And so as a sort of 11, 12-year-old, there was more of a freedom that came from that. But when I look at it, when I've looked back through my journey, there was a lot of, like, on the one hand, it's like my mum kept a roof over her head, we had food. So everything, the physical things were provided, but for emotionally, I didn't have any support in terms of really even understanding what was happening. I mean, what I see is my mum was grieving, and that she was then alone with 3 children, had to bring us up on her own, and she stayed on her own. She had a few relationships, but really her life became just us. And she did an amazing job. I'm really grateful, but I also see the damage and neglect that came from that. And it's like part of me feels dishonest, like even saying that, but it's like, it's true, like emotional neglect. It's like, yeah, I mean, I learned to be a fighter, and I learned to be really strong and really responsible. So I did really actually quite well in life. I didn't want to do education from 18, but the one thing I think I took from that is I needed to earn money to keep me safe. And so that was what my focus became when I left school. It was like I got a job just so that I could earn some money. I mean, I worked from 12 anyway, but it was like that whole thing of, it was a bit like I did what was expected. Like when I look back and I sort of, what happens, like I bought a home with my childhood sweetheart. We got married, we had children, and all of a sudden I found myself in around my 30s going, is this really what life's about? I was then getting divorced. Yes, I was successful in my career and what I was doing, but actually I felt dead inside. And part of that was because there was no connection to my emotional world. And it was more, I was more striving and working in credit. Found myself actually back in my mum's position, single, 3 young kids. So it was family constellation sort of connects to that, because it was where I saw I was repeating a family pattern.
Mm.
But yeah, that, I mean, what led me to the work was really my divorce, seeing that I cannot possibly have been brought to this earth for this experience that I have now. And that was where my deeper questioning came in. And I started to learn about emotions, what emotions were, what I was feeling, not to hide them. Like, I can really relate to what Hugh's saying about, like, pretend everything is okay.
Mhm.
Make sure you wear the mask that I'm okay, I've got this covered. And yet inside there was a part of me that was trembling and, didn't feel safe in the world. Knew what I knew, but didn't really understand how much of the world worked, because I felt like I wasn't a sheltered life, but it was a fearful life. So I was more scared of everything that was happening, and so would be a good girl, not create any waves, do my job really well. That got recognized, that got me promotions. It wasn't like I didn't put my head above the parapet, but because I was hardworking and studious in that way, it got noticed and I did well in my career, and got put in positions I didn't particularly feel comfortable with. However, I was just like, well, I've got to do it. It's like, there was this force inside that said, you've just got to do what you need to do to keep going.
Mm.
And then in my early 30s, I started to question that. And that's when I retrained as a counselor. It was like my heart got engaged, I think is the way I would say it. It's like I went from this mind ruled world to one that was actually more heart based and emotions based, that I could trust my intuition and my instinct. Whereas before they were definitely there. Like, I look back on life and go, oh yeah, they were there, but I didn't recognize they were there. So they were sort of undercurrents of, this just doesn't feel right. Something's not right here. But I didn't know how to trust that, because I'd not been taught to trust my own, I guess, inner wisdom or instinct.
Thank you. Yeah, I can relate to so much of what you shared there, but thank you for letting us have a bit of a window into how things were for you growing up. I mean, 7 years old, the breakdown of the family unit, the losing everything that you knew, it's heartbreaking. So yeah, my heart is with your little girl who went through that, your family. I can resonate with that a lot, I think, because I went off to boarding school at 7. But a year or so before that, my family broke down. My parents divorced, and that's one of the things that led me off to boarding school was that. And like you, I don't remember most of my childhood. I've got photos, I can access photos if you like, but there's nothing much that's moving. And I've done quite a lot of trauma work, sort of things like emotional freedom technique. I can sort of tap into these spaces, but yeah, most of it's, I call it sort of behind a paywall. It's, at some point my subconscious might let me see it. It may not. It may just not come back. So it's, I've kind of made my peace with that. Yeah.
Me too. I've always trusted I'd remember if I needed to, if something was important enough. I tend to have emotional responses to things that feel true. And so it's like, that's more my, yeah, okay, something really relates. I can really relate to that from a feeling and sensory perspective more than a mind and intellectual perspective.
Yeah, thank you. And that idea of the stiff upper lip, if you like. So, whether it's whatever background we come from in this country, or kind of the old empire, the colonies, etc., that idea that you just sort of keep calm and carry on, it permeates everything, doesn't it? And it is such a left brain job to do that. You have to put so much of yourself away, don't you?
Definitely.
All that humanity. Well, thank you. And what I'd love to do now is there's a really great kind of setup, because I can clearly see the pathway through. But in the intro, Hugh, you talked about your men's work and the book you've written, the work you do. What was your sort of stepping stone into your own heart-centeredness, if you like, and kind of then supporting other men, and etc.?
Thanks, Chris. What drove me to do something about it was actually I endured my symptoms till the age of about 33, I think, and then I was having such difficulty with very violent nightmares, which were extremely regular. and not just violence towards me, but violence from me in the nightmares. And so I just was worried that there's something really wrong with me, that something was going amiss. And also, I had my first child, my daughter, and I had some inkling of how numb I was, and just knew that that wasn't okay to bring up my children, that I had to be able to offer them a lot more, and that I couldn't be surface, and that actually I had to be emotional around them to connect with them and to teach them about emotions. And someone said to me, well, why don't you try this? It was MKP. Said her husband had been along to it, and the moment she said it, I absolutely knew it was for me. And so went along, and for the first time since I left Africa, I revealed my childhood and how that was for me. It was totally unprocessed. I could barely speak about it. And I was a deep transformation, because I thought, well, these men will find out who I am and they'll run a mile and not want to have anything to do with me or be around me. And men were just so loving and accepting and supportive and helping, that I realized that I didn't need to do it all on my own. That I could take this men's work as a path towards my own healing and do it with other men. Because another thing the weekend showed me was that every single man there was struggling with his own difficulties. I thought it was mostly me. So I followed it as a path for a long time. I've been in MKP for 29 years now.
Wow.
And I've done a lot of my own healing work in that, as well as training in shadow work. And after a while, as I started to get myself together, get my heart operating again, and get some movement around my emotions, and after years of doing that and feeling so much better about myself and about life, I really found that I wanted to turn back a bit and put my hand out and support other men along the path, because it's really clear so many of us men suffer from similar wounds. A lot of us have been in survival for large parts of our life, and I realized the cost of survival for me, being emotionally numb, the stress of it as well, the kind of emotional stress and the mental stress of always doing everything I could to make sure everything's going to be okay, so I'll just survive. I just realized how intense that is for me and other men. And so I've trained in this work and spent a lot of my working life supporting men to come home to their hearts, essentially, and to feel love for themselves and profound love for the people around them, and to live a life of happiness, joy, and service.
Wow, really powerful, Hugh. Thank you. Yeah, I think once when I heard about the Mankind Project weekend, the New Warrior Training Adventure weekend, I knew it was the one for me. It was right for me. I was petrified going into it. I think I'd learned, you mentioned about your first term at sixth form boarding, being put, the expression being sent to Coventry, being completely ostracized. And for me, I had that happen a number of times during boarding school, and the upshot was I did not trust men at all. They were drinking buddies. They were there was like a rutting stags thing. You're always trying to get one up on people, keep yourself safe, top of the pecking order stuff all through adulthood. But I didn't trust men at all. So to go in for a weekend with all men, where I was out of my comfort zone, etc., it was petrifying. But my God, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Started a journey back towards my heart. But yeah, any men out there, I definitely recommend it. It's a good one. Yeah, and so you dedicated much of your work to that. How did the book come out of the journey? Was it that you always knew you had a book in you, or was it just that you'd done so much of this that you had to get your sort of thoughts in a straight line, reach back for others, etc.?
Well, it's what it really was is that what I've realized is that there's another journey for us men after our great heroic survivalist, a huge effort out in the world journey, and that there's a further journey for us, which is much more about our heart and our love and our maturity. The archetype I call the sovereign, the king, where it becomes time, having engaged with the world and done all the things we've done, there's a time to turn inwards and get to know ourselves very deeply and evolve ourselves into love, essentially. Find all the parts of ourselves that block our love or don't trust love, or don't where we don't trust ourselves, where we struggle and suffer, where we're in pain, where we can't bring about the life that we long for, and we stay in a place of less than. And so the journey that I've designed for men is much more of a second half of life integrative journey where men get to know entirely who they are and evolve themselves into the man that they've always known they can be. So it's a deep journey. It takes a year, and it's a small group of men engaged with a small group of staff over a whole year to take a journey into maturity and happiness and love, really. So that's why I developed this journey to give men a pathway forward, because it took me so long to find a way where I could fully integrate myself and be happy with who I am.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it sounds powerful, powerful work. I know many have been through it, can speak very highly of it, the book as well. And you speak on this subject quite often through the MKP and through other stuff. So that's very good. The yeah, that this idea, I mean, rites of passage were touched upon in Debbie's intro, and the Mankind Project, the New Warrior Training Adventure, is a rite of passage. We we've lost our rites of passage, really, haven't we, along the way? And so, what's your take? So, just to come across to you, Debbie, just rites of passage. What happened to them, and why is it important to bring them back?
I mean, I think if we go back into the sort of more ancient times, rites of passage were just part of our traditions. At the time, we would mark big changes in life. I mean, you hear about it, particularly in some cultures, still keep it alive. Like I think you could say the African cultures, some of the more indigenous cultures keep the rites of passage alive. And it's like, for me, rites of passage, like certainly how I see them, it's like they have two parts. There's what's gone before, and then there's like this threshold, this sort of really putting your stake in the ground and saying, this is where I'm moving to. And it's a bit like they're like a vision quest. It's like they involve so much about visioning forward, but from the place that you're at. So it's like really acknowledging what's gone before, releasing, shedding anything that's needed, going into the sort of dark of that, really, because it's like often there are some things that still need shedding, particularly when we live in this world that doesn't encourage us to feel our emotions, tells you to pack it all away. And a rite of passage for me, it gives an opportunity. I mean, we still have it with birthdays, weddings, funerals. It's like they're some of the key ones that we've kept. But I just feel that any major transition in life, it's like honoring what's gone before, moving across the threshold into something fresh and new. It's like a new chapter in a book, in a way. And this threshold, this turning of the page for me is like an initiation, a rite of passage. And they can take many forms and many shapes. I know that, for example, MKPs is very different to Celebration of Venus. Not that I've done it, men out there, I haven't done it, but I've heard about it. And, for me, a feminine initiation is much more through the doorway of the emotions and bringing the emotions into the present moment and trusting. Part of the feminine qualities are intuition, trusting the mystery, surrendering into what is, and trusting life and the mystery to move you forward through the doorways of emotions rather than a more planned approach. It's like really trusting the moment to moment unraveling of a person or of life or of a moment. But there's still clarity is needed for me around, I guess you might call it vision, mission, North Star, like where is it you see yourself going? And for the feminine, often that's longing. It's like when we're in our feminine, our hearts guide us forward more than our heads or even our emotions. It's more a heart the heart goes that direction and you follow without even understanding why necessarily, but it's the longing that's the calling forth. But still, for me, I feel we co-create with life. I've looked at this question many times over my sort of journey, but I think we co-create with life. And for me, having whatever you want to call that, for me, it's more like it's like how I want to live my life is how it takes shape for me. It's like I choose to live a life of love and joy and celebration. And so that informs my choices and my decisions. And it's less of a how it looks per se, although sometimes that's there. But yeah, I feel that they are vital. I feel we've lost touch. I feel like some of the youngsters now are doing it via tattoos or wild holidays somewhere. It's like they're looking for this way of moving from child to adult. And, you know, a rite of passage gave them the opportunity to do that. And I think a lot, it can be stuck is probably a good word in our teenage years. The child sometimes gets attention, but those teenage years, in my experience of working with people, says that often gets overlooked. It's just like you were meant to know how to do that. You just did it without really being guided or supported by elders or a village or a community. And rites of passage for me in community are really, I think they're vital, and they create shifts and change through ritual and ceremony.
Amazing. Thank you so much. But there's this sort of preoccupation with independence, isn't there? When actually it's an interdependent is what we're looking for, interconnected. But thanks. Anything to add to that, Hugh? Because obviously your work on rites of passage, you've done an awful lot. There's the year-long program with you. There's MKP. Anything to add to what Debbie has shared?
I think for us men, it's good to work with the masculine and the feminine. I know that for me, MKP and then Noble Man were huge rites of passage for me. I'd worked in MKP for 18 years and had never cried in that environment. I basically wasn't able to cry around men for reasons you've alluded to. Even though I learned to trust men, that side of me was locked down still. And I know that when I went to Noble Man, I liberated my emotions in such a huge way, particularly my sadness and ability to be in the moment and to truly engage. And I think there's for us available these days, there's more than one initiation, and it's good for us to go on different initiations to widen the breadth of who we are.
Beautiful. Yeah, and we'll come on to the coming home retreat in a bit, because that I felt when I went through it as a participant, that felt like an initiation. It felt like a coming home to finally having left boarding school. You know, it took me best part of 30 years of, you know, addiction and struggling and getting things wrong, and then this point is a turning and move towards legacy. You know, chemical changes, the sort of menopause, you know, the dropping of testosterone, it all needed to happen. But thank God there are these great things out there. Debbie, just coming back a little bit so that anyone listening can understand it. So we heard about the sovereign's journey from Hugh, the celebration of being. Could you just give us a little bit on what that is and what it offers?
Yeah, so what Hugh was talking about, I did think that was a bit missing. So the Noble Man that Hugh's talking about is one of Celebration of Beings. It's the first entry point for a man to come into the work. Celebration of Being, for me and for us, I believe, is that it's about the feminine needs to rise up. This is more about, it's an individual and also a planetary shift in a paradigm. We've been, you know, under the rule of a patriarchal system, and the only way that's going to change is for the feminine qualities to arise in all of us. And I don't feel it's just women, it's also for men. It's like, and our work is about letting the feminine rise up in everyone, so that we can come back into balance, and so that we can see the glory and the beauty of all of the qualities. And for me, you know, I've worked in this field for over 20 years. What I see is, we've talked about how different we are. What I see more and more is how similar we are, both men and women. And actually what it's about is really within us, there are these qualities. We have both masculine and feminine qualities in each of us. And it's more about the dance of like when we need them in life and how we move and dance together and we embrace all of ourselves. And irrespective of how they've been classified, it's like often when people say, tell me what's more masculine, what's more feminine. Yes, I can do that. But actually what's more for me, it's about just embracing all of us, all of us, because this all lives in all of us. If there's an energy out there, it lives in us too. If we see it, it also lives in us, and we need to own it, claim it, come back into right relationship inside ourselves. It's like this, sometimes called the sacred union, the alchemy of one's inner being, the left, the right, the dark, the light. It's like all of it's intimating the same thing. It's not living in this place of duality, but this place of the alchemy when the two come together and we dance together. So Celebration of Being's work is really about for men to heal their wounding with the feminine, and for women to also heal their wound with the masculine, and come to this place of sovereignty. It's like, sovereignty for me is love. It's like it's the same place inside of us, but it's like loving all of myself and embracing all of myself, even if there are parts that I don't like. Can I be compassionate and loving and kind and bring peace into my inner queendom, my inner realm, and then move forward in life from a place of peace and wanting to bring joy and connection and love to people. So our work is very much a journey of that. There is the women only work that we do, because there is even a distortion around what the feminine is through the patriarchal system, and also a distortion of what masculine is through the patriarchal system. It's like coming back to an innate knowing of what it is inside of us, because we sort of know and then we recognize it. For me, group work is really vital, because there are so many different faces of man, of woman, of a uniqueness to everyone, and the group setting really allows that to be seen, appreciated, shadows sometimes acknowledged, because we can see it in someone else rather than own it in ourselves. And there's so much mirror work and beauty that comes from working in groups.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. So that's Celebration of Being, and there's obviously a website people can visit. We'll give in the description, same for Sovereign's Journey and Mankind Project, etc. But something you touched on there is, I believe, the reason why our the Seen and Heard mixed gender online sharing groups, the free ones that we run every week, they're always oversubscribed. We have got a men's one, we have got a women's one. They are always quieter. And a lot of that, having facilitated so many of those, many people who went through boarding and independent schools went to single sex schools, which for me is a travesty of humanity to sort of separate ourselves off from each other. And I always, there's academic reasons, but to me it doesn't work with my heart. But in those groups, those shared spaces, men and women together, we're just learning from each other, seeing shadow coming up. Often what happens is participants go to the mixed one, and then they'll come to the men's group to unpack something that they heard in a mixed group, and and it really triggered them, or they just didn't know how to process it. So it's a beautiful dance, as you say. So coming forward to the Coming Home retreat, which was mixed gender, it had this amazing so family constellations, which we'll talk about, and so much of the work that you've headlined. Firstly, so that people can understand like how it came about. Hugh, could you just tell us a little bit about how, because there's the film Boarding on Insanity. Anyone who's seen it knows there was a retreat within it. Just a little sort of intro. How did it come about?
We were asked by Bordering on Insanity to deliver a workshop. I think we came up with the name, which would be enabling ex-boarders to have a look at their past really closely, to look at the years that they spent in boarding schools, and to find a way of reconnecting with that younger part of themselves, and really bringing that part to love and to peace, and to in effect bring them home to our hearts, rather than leave them in a way suffering still in that time where there was lots of trauma and difficulty, and also often an awful lot of loneliness and aloneness. And so we were asked by them, and we took a look at what Bordering on Insanity is working with, and we devised this workshop, this initiatory coming home weekend to support boarders to lay their past to rest and to take care of the parts of themselves that endured the difficulties of that time and find a way of going forward in love and integration and in peace. And as you mentioned, with men and women, which is incredible because it enriches the whole process so much. And what we notice, that one of the huge things that helps everyone feel so safe is having this as an ex-borders space. So everyone knows what other people have been through, and they are able to really trust each other. And it's, I mean, one difficulty with borders that we noticed is that they're often judged as their schooling was a very privileged time for them, and a lot of borders found it a really difficult experience. So to be in an environment where there's no judgment on them for having to gone to boarding school, and where everyone can sit together and work through very, very similar experiences, we found meant a huge amount to laying some of the pain of the past to rest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can speak about it from a participant's perspective, and for me, that first day turning up, strangers, groups, it brought back all the school stuff. You held it beautifully. You allowed that to get unpacked. But it was probably the first time I ever spoke about it really without having to justify first. Oh, the facilities were great, and I love the sport and the da da da. But
Yeah.
I had some horrible experiences, and it's the first time I could cut out the beginning bit and just go in with, do you know what? Actually, I was lonely. I didn't like it. I didn't know why I was there. I made the best of it, but Jesus, it's left some scars. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and how was it? Because they filmed the whole thing, so you've done, between you, thousands of days of retreats and workshops, etc. What was it like, Debbie, being filmed?
Well, I have to confess, it was one of our reservations at the beginning. Like
Yeah.
we thought long and hard about it, and you know, people in a vulnerable position being filmed, and us inviting those feelings to come to the surface, and then them being filled, knowing that they're going to produce something afterwards. And yeah, like therapeutically, I had to go through my own process of like, is this okay? And the things that made it okay for me were that everybody was going into this willingly. Everybody had the right for anything that was being filmed not to be included in the final results. And that everybody was really in choice. And even in those moments, including us, were in choice as well. Like if we saw something and thought, oh, I don't quite know how that's going to be when that is released and other people are commenting on that. It's like that was really important for me, that people chose it in the first place, that they had a protection in terms of the agreements that were all signed. And actually on the weekend, I guess what I noticed was it wasn't, as I thought it was just going to be such an interruption. It was going to close people down, that they wouldn't feel that they could actually go there. But after, I think, the first day, it was a bit like it was the pictures hanging on the wall or something. They were like part of the workshop.
Yeah.
So I noticed that after we all got used to it in some ways, it's like that all fell away. And actually we were there for why we'd come, the intentions of the workshop. But yeah, it was very strange. And I still don't like seeing myself on camera at all, apart from those old, individual cringe moments. But actually, for me, it was actually more about the participants and them not feeling abused at all by the process that was unraveling. And yeah, I mean, as it was, it felt mostly, I'd say 95% non-invasive, and just became a natural part of what we were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I think from the other side, the participant side, I felt all of that. I mean, Ben Cole, the producer, did a lot of the filming. Jared, the other guys in your team and your facilitation team and the filming team, they did beautifully. They did a brilliant job. You could see them moved. often you turn around and see one of the film crew in tears because it was impossible not to connect. And we've been all the participants have been in touch ever since. And yeah, I don't believe at any point anyone sort of felt exploited by it. It was handled really well. So, but sort of moving forward to the coming home retreat. So one ran. So it was 2024 February, the one for the filming of the film. Then there was one sort of autumn 25.
Yeah, it was October, wasn't it? October 25.
Yeah.
It was 25, and a number of people from Seen and Heard went, and the reviews were amazing, life-changing, safe, just very, very moving. All of the kind of feedback was very positive. So you're running it again. It's not filmed. That was once it was
There's
filmed.
definitely no filming.
Definitely not filmed now.
Only option.
Yeah. And when's the 2026 one?
June. I was thinking, I knew you were going to ask that.
I will put it in the notes if that's.
Yeah, 11th to the 14th is when the retreat. So the weather will be nicer because we use nature as one of the key components of processing and giving space and time for integration. And so we use the outside a lot to, at least in the second retreat, we did that because it's just for us, I guess, in our work, it's very much how integration is supported and how nature can be such a key component in supporting people to process and have space and bring in Mother Nature and Father Sky and
safety. So many of us found deep safety in nature that may not have been around us. And so that really contributes on the weekend.
Thank you. It's so powerful. For me, nature and music saved my life. 100%. I don't even know how many times where I've thought maybe I don't want to be here anymore, but somehow nature and music always pulled me through. But so just for anyone listening, was that the 14th of June 2026?
11th to the 14th. So
11th to the 14th.
Retreat, Thursday to Sunday. Starts Thursday evening. We finish Sunday about lunchtime. And yeah, it's interesting because what we saw was really important was there's space needed for people's stories, like for people to share it's not even a story, it's their experience in a safe environment. And so we tend to work during the day and we have the evenings off. And it was great being around the fire, wasn't it? There were lots of people just like stories would come up and then people would relate to it. So there's a lot that happens outside of the processing space as well that just allows people to belong and to realize they're not alone and their experience has been shared. And also how it has affected them in their life. Because for me, those formative years are, the first 7 years and then the next 7 years. It's like they are so formative in who we become as adults and to redress the misunderstandings that those younger parts of us took on is really vital and important. And bringing them back into connection with the adult that now lives, because they're not alone anymore, but often they are alone. They're lost in the previous experience, and that's what for us it's very much about reconnecting those parts to the adult.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
and Seen and Heard, Chris. For us being seen on coming home and really heard, have everyone really listened to each person's experience of how it was for them, with no judgments and with safe holding. It's super important, and I'm not sure that borders find a place like that really very easily where they're totally loved for what they went through.
No, I think you're absolutely right. There's two big things from what you just said. I agree. The evenings of the coming home retreat that I attended were, I remember sat there around a table with lots of other people. We were sharing food. Everyone was sort of talking, bouncing off each other. I thought, it's the first time in my life I've ever had this. It really was, because I've found great happiness and joy with my children, with my partner, but not in bigger groups. I don't really have that in my life. I don't have community, and I'm still quite isolated. And to feel it made me want more. Just thinking about the wonderful Michelle Adorn-Silcott, so Piers Cross's wife. She cooked at that first retreat, didn't she? And I remember standing and talking to her around She supported with amazing food, and it was brilliant. So for anyone who's on the fence thinking about this, I would say you will feel some fear in the build up.
Mhm.
Everybody does before a treat. It's usually melted away within the first couple of hours, and then before you know it, then you come out the other side. There's a lovely integration period. People aren't sort of left hanging. They can move through into sharing groups. They can come and do other work, etc. Yeah, just give it a go. If you don't go, you never know, as I always say. Yeah, really powerful.
Just to say, it means a lot to us that we can have a profound and deep weekend and then hand everyone in a lot of ways over to you. We do meet once after the weekend, but you do take care of people and give them a community and a place to land and to continue to evolve. And that means a lot, definitely.
Thank you, Hugh, for mentioning that. Yeah, it's very much how we hope things will be for anyone attending. So there's places left for the June retreat. The work is amazing. It's over 4 days, Thursday to Sunday. Sounds like an enormous commitment, but it really races by. And certainly, I did think at the time I was almost not going to go because I was worried about leaving my children for a few days, and then what I realised afterwards, same with the MKP weekend, was I was doing it for them because I was a different father, a different man after both of those retreats, and they'll forgive a couple of days of someone being missing because you're then more present with them when you're back. So
Way more, yeah.
yeah, for sure. Beautiful. Well, the information will be in the notes, as I've said before. You created something really beautiful, and it was life-changing for me and many others. So bless you and thank you for that, for all your other work supporting others. And so just finally, kind of, we live in challenging times. I think, Debbie, you mentioned it beautifully, the shift from the old business model, the patriarchal business model, the left brain, analytical world that sort of created such disconnection. You mentioned living in right relationship, which is one of my values. I live in right relationship with myself and all beings. I move myself and the world around me towards connection and compassion. So that's my vision. What's your vision going forward? I'd love to hear from you, Debbie, and then Hugh. Just what would you like to see in the world?
I mean, peace. I look at what's going on now, and it's like peace for me does start at home. Everyone knows the quote, "Be the change you want to see in the world." But I really feel that that's where it starts, and it's about bringing compassion to moments. I can find myself doing it. I'll look at a situation and I'll make huge judgments about it, and then I catch myself and I'm like, actually, I have no idea what experience these people have been through. And can I bring compassion to this moment and maybe a smidget of understanding that maybe also supports this other person? So for me, it's about me being the change, giving the love that I inside as well as out. I think that's key for me. Is like a lot of my life's been spent externally focused. It's about everybody else. And what my current practice is really, I give it to myself first, and then I can give from an abundant place and without resentment, without but for me, I always bring it back to myself, and it's like I want to be the change that I see, that I want in the world, which for me is to love, be compassionate, be joyful and celebratory, like find my voice, actually find my choice in things and let that be known. It's like not to be quiet. That came to me really at a recent retreat I just came back from. I heard all these women really finding their voices, and I was like, that's what the world needs more of us, finding our heart connected, truthful voices so that we can contribute when something doesn't look or feel right for us.
Beautiful, beautiful words. Really connect to those. Thank you, Debbie. And Hugh, would you like to come in on that?
Yes, I spent a lot of time trying to be happy and to function by just functioning in the world and not looking into myself. I'd like to see a world where there's multiple opportunities for men and women to get to know themselves and to be able to work on their own healing and their trauma, and both working one-on-one or in group situations. What I would really love is a world where lots and lots of us are able to do our own healing work so that we know ourselves inside out and we love ourselves and we free ourselves from pain so we can turn in happiness to the world. And for me, service to mankind comes out of happiness. And so, yes, I'd like to see a world where we attend to ourselves first and then turn and attend to the world.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you.
I'm really noticing this little girl in me that's going, don't forget the trees, don't forget the animals. It's like she's really going like, don't forget about this beautiful planet that we share with other species. And she's going, yes, it's like they're really important. They're just as important as us.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like also that focus around what we do to the planet, the great mother and the atmosphere, the father. It's like all of it. It's like we are not behaving well. And I'd like to see that change too.
Beautiful. Moving into that connection, that right relationship sounds very profound. And Piers Cross and I at the moment are running the Compassionate Leader Pathway course, and that is exactly founded upon you have to go in before you can even possibly hope to go out. And once you're in integrity, then the rest flows. But I spent most of my life not in integrity, and it's where the work starts, isn't it? So it's thank you so much for your time, for your gifts to healing, to your own journeys, and with the Coming Home retreat. So we've had our time today, but it's been a privilege. Thank you so much, Debbie Beauchamp. Thank you, and Hugh Newton. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for everything you do, Chris. You're steadfast and stalwart, and I feel a lot of joy at all the men and women who you're helping and giving support to.
Bless you. Appreciate that. And yeah, to all you listening or watching at home or wherever you are, thank you so much. It's been the Seen and Heard podcast, conversational series with me, Chris Braitch. Please do check the notes for anything that you want to find out more about from today. Say goodbye to Debbie and Hugh, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Bye-bye.
Bye.